If you can judge a person's condition just by looking at them, you're a better person than me. Not all disability is visible.
Welcome to An Apple a Day, a podcast, a resource, a community. Share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy, healthy life with a disability. Welcome to the community. Here's your host, Jimmy Apple.
Welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. I'm your host, Jimmy Apple. Okay, I want everybody to be honest. Who overindulged yesterday on Thanksgiving? Come on, tell the truth. Who's still sitting in an easy chair with their pants unbuttoned? Come on, fess up. You gotta let me know. What a great day yesterday. I hope everybody had an enjoyable Thanksgiving. I hope everybody pigged out. Okay, that's the best word I can say. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. How you feeling today, my friend? You feeling good? You feeling strong? You feeling stuffed? That's good. That's good. That's a good feeling. Well, it's the beginning of the holidays. Santa Claus came to town yesterday, and we're off and running. People are going crazy today on Black Friday, I guess. I'm not one of them. I don't know. I never went crazy on Black Friday. And now, since they have, all this shopping on the computer, all these people that get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go shopping, I don't know. You got to be a little bit crazy as far as I'm concerned. I don't like to go shopping in the daylight, never mind in the dark, in the early morning when it's raining out and stuff. But to each his own. To each his own. We have got a good one for you today. Today, we're speaking to Sam Mitchell. Sam has a podcast. Now, I don't, as a rule, interview other podcasters. No, I shouldn't say as a rule. Just ordinarily, I don't interview other podcasters. I do. I mean, I've interviewed my dear friends Sid and Tamara from Success Sauce and Two Pickles. From their podcast, I've interviewed S.J. Childs from her podcast. I pick and choose. And if they're interesting, if they're good podcasts, I do. And Sam has an interesting podcast. The name of his podcast is Autism Rocks and Rolls. And you're saying, well, Autism Rocks and Rolls. What's so interesting about that? What's interesting about this is Sam has autism. And that's what makes it interesting, because he's speaking not from a book. He didn't read up on autism, and he's not somebody that studied it in school and figures now he knows all about it so he can talk about it. Nope. Sam walks the walk and talks the talk. He knows from experience, and he gets guests on his podcast like you wouldn't believe. So I wanted to bring him on. I want to promote his podcast because it's the real deal. It's just like on Wednesday we had Tracy, and she's the real deal. She's talking about disability, and she's the real deal. We want people who know what they're talking about, not people who have studied and they think they know it all. We're talking about people that live it every day. And that's who we have in Sam here. Sam lives it. Sam was diagnosed with autism as a young child. He made it through school. Now he's in college. People hear autism, they go, ooh, it's like a creepy disease or something. It's not. It's another disability. And Sam has pushed himself, and his family has helped him along the way. He's in college now, and now he runs his own podcast. He's an entrepreneur. He's an inspirational speaker. You gotta hear him. You gotta really listen to this podcast, because he's an inspiration. Now, I will give you a heads up. There was a little bit of tricky spots with his phone during the interview, but we took care of it as best we could. But I wanted to bring this interview to you because it's very interesting, and I do want you to check out his podcast. I want you to check out his website too. And all the web addresses and the sites, they're all going to be listed in the show notes for this podcast. So if you didn't catch it on the interview, it'll be in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. And I want you to check out his website. His website is really, really good. As a matter of fact, I may take some tips from his website for our website here. I'm not going to keep on puffing it up. So sit back, relax, and I want to introduce you to Sam Mitchell and Autism Rocks and Rolls. Okay, I'm here today with Sam Mitchell. Now, this is different because this is the first time for me, I think, interviewing another podcaster. And I'm kind of nervous about it because this guy here, he's rated in the top 200 podcasts in Canada. That's kind of intimidating a little bit. Now, his podcast is called Autism Rocks and Rolls. Now, he knows what he's talking about with his podcast because even though he's not a doctor, he has autism. He's speaking from experience with his podcast, but he's more than just a podcaster. He's also a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur. He's published a TED Talk called The Soul Structure. What more can I say about this man? Plus, he's in college. So let me introduce him. This is Sam Mitchell. How you doing today, Sam?
Hey, man, I'm all right. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. I'm impressed by you. I'm impressed. I listened to some of your podcasts, and it's unbelievable. The people that you have on the podcast. You had someone on from American Idol. You've had a wrestler on the podcast. Animal advocates. It's great. It's great. So tell us about the podcast first. Let's start there. Autism Rocks and Rolls. How did you get started with that?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Autism Rocks and Rolls. It's about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. It really started with my high school's media club, and the only way I knew to continue my media skills was to start my own podcast, and that's where the name Autism Rocks and Rolls was born.
Now, do you do this all on your own, or do you have a crew?
I have an editor and a critiquer as well, and a board and a committee. The committee is really my family, and a board is just a couple of friends we know.
Really? That's excellent. Now, how many downloads did you say you have on this?
I'm nearing 8, I think.
8 or 800?
8K.
Oh, 8,000. Very good. And subscribers?
Over 100.
Very good. Excellent. And how long have you had it out there?
Since October 2019.
Very good. And I know I seen on your website you have a boatload of sponsors.
Yeah, I do. They're really local. But we just took a sponsorship. A couple of them asked, but we asked the others because that's the way we decided that it was the only way we were going to turn into a business.
Well, whether they're local or national, they're still sponsors, and that's
yeah, I know.
I know podcasters that are out there for years and still can't draw a sponsor, and you're a young podcaster and you're pulling them in. That's great. That's absolutely great.
Yeah, I think that I got that on my side.
Yeah, well, definitely. And you're pulling in phenomenal guests. The singer from American Idol, that's great, especially for a new podcaster. The wrestler, what was the wrestler's name?
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. He's an actor also, Mick Foley, right?
Yeah, he's also an actor. He's played on several wrestling movies. I think the latest one he played was in Peanut Butter Falcon.
Didn't he play opposite Kevin James in a movie?
I have no idea, but I know he's a childhood friend of Kevin James.
Right, but I know he played opposite Kevin James in a movie. I think it was an Adam Sandler movie. He played opposite Kevin James. But still, I mean, again, for a new podcaster to be pulling down names like that, that's phenomenal. That's excellent. Now,
yeah, it does take something, I think. I think it just takes the right person and the right appeals.
Of course. Now, a question. Does Mick Foley suffer from autism?
No, but he has a son who's on the spectrum.
Okay. And I know this singer. I can't think of his name at the moment now.
James Durbin.
That's it. Now, he has autism, right?
Yeah, and Tourette's.
And Tourette's. Because I remember him on American Idol. The motivational speaking that you do. How did you get into that? Was that through the podcast?
Because we figured out that we should probably branch out, and I have a story to share, in my opinion. So we thought, let's let the world hear it. So we did the TED Talk, Soul Structure, with just virtually because of COVID, sadly, but mock speeches. But I've also like spoken like IU nurses, doctors, and I have a big one coming up in February 2022. Right, at a national autism conference in Broken Arrows, Oklahoma.
Really? And
Yes, sir.
is that virtual or live?
In live, I have to fly.
Excellent. And now, do you have an agent that books these for you, or are you booking them on your own, or?
I book them on my own. I don't have a booker. I like to do that on my own. But as far as like some of the main stuff that's out of the podcasting realm, that's my editor.
Very good. I was looking through your website. Your website is very, very good. I don't know who does your website, but whoever does it, they do a heck of a job.
It's both of us, my editor and I.
Excellent. I love the way it's set up with your guests and the profile pictures and everything. You've done so many interviews. Now, do you ever do solo podcasts?
Yeah.
Where it's just you?
Well, I'll just tell you, I call it the ape. Some of the episodes are behaviors. Like, I have real bad anxiety. I'm also very blunt and honest, so I have foot and mouth syndrome pretty bad. I don't make plan Bs easily. It's hard for me to bend, and I've had meltdowns, which is totally different from a tantrum. I want to clarify that. And I've had anticipatory anxiety, and then I don't do well with conversation. Sometimes I'll pop bubbles and change the topic off the bat, and I deal with exclusion as well. I also have sensitive feelings. Yeah. I don't mean like internal, like acting like I don't like a wet shirt or butt pockets on the jeans. That's not me. Then I also done some interviews. I also do some entertainment ones where I compare stuff to autism. Like I compared pinball to autism, flying like airplanes to autism, and music to autism because music is near and dear to my heart.
How do you compare flying to autism?
Well, I mean, like an airport, airplane, because they're flying. I mean, I think it's us when we are rising to the top when we fly.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. And how do you compare music to autism then?
Basically, I take what in my opinion is the moral of the song and compare that to an autistic behavior or an autistic trait.
Oh, all right, cool. I can understand that. That's great. Now, your TED Talk, I want to touch on that real quick. The soul structure. What was the premise of the TED Talk? I know quite a few people who have done TED Talks.
It was really to show why autistic people need structure in their life.
Such as, now you and I have a friend in common, S.J. Childs, and you know her husband is on the spectrum, and
yep,
and he can live independently. I think most people with autism can live independently and are able to make their own structure. No.
Yeah, I figured I'll be able to make plans on structure. I will do it. It used to be taking a little longer, or a little while longer at least.
But because I think there's a very big misconception with the groups and people that I deal with through the podcast and through groups and stuff like that. There's a big misconception, I think, out there about autism. People hear autism and it's like, ooh, like it's some kind of special disease. And it's what I found, and this is just me, I don't have autism. I know people, like I said, very near and dear to me that do have autism, but it's not as spooky or as creepy as people make it out to be.
That's sad. I mean, there's a big misconception that we're basically freaks and we have to be pitied and there's something to be sorry about. When in reality, there is nothing to be sorry about.
No, it's just, it's no different than any other disability, and that's truly what it is a disability. Like I have a disability. I have one leg. I've had a couple of strokes. I've had a couple of heart attacks, and so I have a disability, but I can still get around. People look at me and they see one leg, and not everybody, but some people look at me and are like, oh, look at this guy, one leg. It's kind of creepy. But the same thing, like autism isn't really visible, isn't a visible disease, but then people hear it and they become, oh, stay away from him. He has autism, or he has a mental disease, or something like that. And autism is nothing more than another disability, but it's functional in my book.
Yeah, I mean, you can function even with autism. I mean, I think no matter what you have, you can function. You just have to take the right mind to find that path.
Right. Everyone functions at their own speed.
I agree with that.
Everyone functions at their own speed and at their own ability. But everyone's able to function. That's the way I look at everything.
All right.
All people with a disability can function, no matter what. They just function at their own speed. And like you said, they need structure, but they can give themselves the structure. You're not looking for someone else to give you structure, right?
I'm not looking for someone any structure. My structure is my job.
Right, exactly. Now, how long was your TED Talk? How was it?
I don't remember the exact time, but at least 30 minutes, I can tell you that.
Right. I knew a young lady that went up. She had that I know the name of it. I can't pronounce it. But she was born with a really bad spine problem, and people said that she wasn't going to live past 10 years old. She wasn't going to ever be able to walk, and she surprised them all because when I spoke to her, when I first met her, she was 19 and she was walking with the arm crutches, and she was out there dancing. So and she did the TED Talk, and she did like a 15-minute TED Talk out there, and people gave her a standing ovation. Those TED Talks, I'm amazed by them, and I think they're a great thing. So now,
I agree with you there.
Now tell me about the merchandise that you sell. Are you doing anything for the holidays, like Christmas shirts or Hanukkah shirts or stuff like that?
I think for the business wise, I'm thinking about it sometime in December. We're gonna do Christmas giveaways where we give people shirts and other assorted items. All they have to do is show up, and boom, they're on.
Oh, very cool. For anyone that's interested, I'm gonna have the website links in the show notes for this podcast to Sam's Teespring store, where you can go and look at the designs. Maybe you're interested, buy a couple of shirts. Everybody wears t-shirts. According to a national poll, everybody wears at least one t-shirt a week. So buy t-shirts for Christmas. T-shirts make a nice gift. They really do. I love t-shirts.
I think so too. I'll get that annually from my uncle and aunt.
I live in t-shirts. If I could get away with wearing a t-shirt every day to wherever I gotta go, I would do it. I have t-shirts from back in the 70s, my Led Zeppelin days. I love t-shirts. Yeah. So how long have you been doing the t-shirts? Have you been doing it since the beginning?
That started probably a little after October 2019. I would say like 2020 early, if I had to assume. Very
good. Let's get back to the podcast real quick here. What are your plans with the podcast? How far do you plan to go with it? I always say ask me in 5 years and we'll talk again, because I'm taking this podcast one day at a time. It's going to take me big. It's going to take me where I am today. It can go back to a hobby. I don't know. So I take it one day at a time. I remember when I first started, people told me, you're starting a podcast about disability? And I said, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast about disability. They're saying nobody wants to hear about that. And then I got told that you're not going to last past 7 episodes. I said, why is that? They said people get tired. People with podcasts, they get tired. They normally don't last past 7 episodes. And you're not going to make it a year. You're not going to make it 6 months, they told me. Well, this week made 4 years for me. I'm doing this 4 years.
Awesome. Yeah, I was expecting a few hits and, a few likes and a couple followers maybe. I wasn't expecting this big at all.
Yeah, and I'm just a couple of episodes shy of my 250th episode. So
wow, good job.
Yeah, so I love it. I love the podcast. I love the whole industry around it. I love everything there is to do with it. And that's why you might see me on some of the podcast websites. I get mad when I see these people that get into it on certain platforms, and they're in there for a couple of episodes, and I listen to everybody's podcast, and they get in there and they think they're the second coming of Howard Stern, and all they do is curse, and you're making a mockery of the podcast industry. I like someone like yourself that takes it seriously, and if you're not going to take it seriously, don't do it.
I agree with that too.
I'm
kind of strict in regimen when it comes to the podcast.
People do this. There's people that have been doing this for years, and if you listen to them, they have better shows than what you hear on terrestrial radio or on satellite radio. And podcasting is becoming the newest form of information. I mean, I think the last count I've seen is there's something like 18 million podcasts out there, but there's 36 million or 38 million listeners. That's a lot of listeners. and it's growing every week. So
yeah, podcast is beating out radio, I think.
oh, it's beat out terrestrial radio, head and shoulders. It's competing only, and if you look, all these people are turning to podcasts now. Everybody's getting a podcast. All these big names. I mean, last I heard, Hillary Clinton has a podcast. Look at Joe Rogan. I don't know.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. Look at him. He's a big time podcaster.
And look at the contract he got with Spotify. He's making millions of dollars from Spotify just to podcast exclusively on Spotify. He got a 5-year or 6-year contract for millions from Spotify just to podcast exclusively on Spotify. That's amazing to me. That shows you the popularity of podcasting. And it's happening more and more. You got in at the right time, my friend.
Yeah, I think I definitely did too.
And you're in a perfectly good niche, because you're speaking, like I said, from experience. And people will tell you, autism, who wants to hear about autism? There's a million people that want to hear about it, because there's a million people affected by it. So don't ever let anyone talk you out of it.
I don't let anyone talk out of it. I don't plan on it.
I think your podcast is excellent, and I think everyone should take a listen to Autism Rocks and Rolls.
Thank you.
I think everyone should tune into it, take a listen to it. Now, where are you heard on? Where's your primary spot? Like, my primary spot is Lipson, but I'm heard on all podcast platforms.
Yeah, my primary spot is Podbean.
Podbean, okay. And we're going to put this in the show notes, but what is, for anyone that's listening right now, if they wanted to jump over there, what's your address to jump over there?
It's circles.podbean.com.
There you go. And we'll have, if you didn't get it, that address is going to be in the show notes also, so you can check them out. And I suggest you do check them out, because, like I said, he's got interesting guests. For a new guy out there, he's got some interesting guests. And especially check out, again, I'm sorry, what is the guy from American Idol? What is his
James
name?
Durbin.
I'm sorry, James Durbin. But check out that podcast. And Mick Foley. Check out Mick Foley. He asks the right questions, and they give the right answers. They're entertaining podcasts. So you got to check out Autism Rocks and Rolls. And check out his website. Just explore his website. Take a couple of minutes, explore his website. You're going to be amazed by it. That's the only word that I can use to describe his website. You got to check it out. And go ahead, give the address of your website while we're at it here.
AutismRocksandRolls.com.
There you go. Again, if you didn't get it, it'll be in the show notes. But you got to take a minute, go over there, check out his website, because it's an amazing thing. You'll see the pictures of the people that he's interviewing, and it's nice to put a picture with the voice. I find that, and I might steal that idea from you, Sam. I might start doing that myself. But it's really good. It's really interesting, his podcast, and I suggest you go over there and become a subscriber too. Subscribe to mine, definitely, an apple a day. You got to subscribe to an apple a day. And then go over to subscribe to Sam's Autism Rocks and Rolls. You have to do it. Do me that favor. So, Sam, it has been great talking to you today. I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Thank you. It's been an honor being here.
It's been an honor talking to you. I'm so impressed by you. And I wish you luck with everything. And I'd like to keep in touch with you. I definitely want to keep in touch with you, buddy, and follow your success.
We'll definitely do that.
Definitely. Okay? So you have a great day, and keep on rocking and rolling, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So take care, and best of luck.
Thank you. Best of luck to you, too. Have a good one now. Bye-bye.
I'd like to thank Sam Mitchell for sitting down and talking with us, and I'd like to suggest everybody check out his podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls. He's really a nice young man, and he has a vision, and he plans on taking this podcast on indefinitely. And he can. Autism, it's a progressive disease, and he's going to progress with it with his podcast. So please check him out and check out his website. All the information is in the show notes for this podcast today. I'd like to thank everyone else for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And now Santa Claus has come to town. It's the beginning of the holiday season. And we're going to bring you some really cool podcast episodes coming up. So stick with us. And I want to remind you, An Apple a Day is brought to you by www.famousapple.com. Famousapple.com is the home site for this podcast, so if you get a minute, check it out. And while you're tripping around the web, make sure you stop by www.famousapple.com/group. That's our Facebook group, Living with a Disability. Go over there, check it out. There's a lot of people, a lot of chatter going on, people making friends, people asking questions, answering questions. It's a nice group. Nice, friendly people, no fighting, no arguing, just people being friendly. So stop by there, check it out, join the party. It doesn't cost you anything to join. Nobody takes your private information and sells it or anything like that. It's just nice people hanging out with nice people. So listen, thanks again for stopping by today, and I want to remind you of one more thing. No one ever went blind by looking at things from the bright side. So give it a shot, my friends. You've been listening to An Apple a Day. My name is Jimmy Apple, and I will talk to you again in a couple of days. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to An Apple a Day with Jimmy Apple, your gateway to a happy, healthy life. Join our community at www.famousapple.com. See you next time.